Are we
recording.
live?
Yeah, we're.
Oh, great.
All right. Well, welcome everyone to the Dauntless podcast. I think this is episode 9 or 10.
I think this is 10.
This is 10, which is so fitting for us to have our first guest
It's
on our
like we
10th
planned it.
episode. It's as if we planned it literally yesterday. And we have with us today Jackie, who a couple things you need to know about Jackie is number one, every time that I write on our social media posts, our in-house registered dietitian, I mean Jackie. And she's also the greatest fan of our podcast. So welcome, Jackie.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. I'm
Good.
sorry that you've lost one of your listeners.
I know. But you're not going to listen back to this episode.
I might have to. And
Will Brian
To listen to
it?
yourself on.
so Brian has given me some. Brian is my husband, for those who don't know. And when I told him I was coming on this podcast, he had many pieces of advice for me because I had mentioned that I wasn't going to listen to it because I hate the sound of my own voice. And I reflected back. I said, but I probably should if I want to ever learn from it and become
Right.
better at,
Be our
if
star
I ever
guest.
want to be on this podcast again, which if you continue to have other episodes, I assume I would, given the
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Jackie.
material that you discuss. I feel like I
Yeah.
fit in the conversation sometimes.
You do. The amount of commenting that you do, we should have you on more often.
I have many more comments that happen in my head as I listen to. I should start live commenting as I listen.
Yeah, that's what Julie.
That's
Really
and
drives
Billy
some
does too.
really
Like,
drives some
yeah,
traffic to
yeah.
this.
Yeah,
to this
Julie
podcast.
and Billy are vying for their guest spots as well. So
We also, if we get 5 guests, then our 15th episode will go live. So this has all been planned out.
Oh, I thought it was like if you get 5 guests,
They're
you
just
get
milestones.
one for free. Like you
And
don't
if
have
we
to
get
pay
to
one of the
25,
guests.
I'll even invest more money in equipment, but right now we're down dollars, so who knows?
yeah, this podcast is a money pit at best.
So far, yeah. Yeah. Even if we only spent $3 on it, we would be down $3.
Well, there's one thing I can promise you is that I'm going to listen to it. I listen to every single one, even the ones that I'm not in. I've listened to.
Can
Try and
you?
give them some advice, but I want to know what Brian's advice is.
Okay, so his first piece of advice, and he tells me this before I do any sort of presentation or whatever, is speak slower than you think you should.
Good
Great
advice.
advice.
So always, I think that's probably good advice in any scenario
Completely agree.
for the most part. The other thing he said is to listen to the other people on the podcast.
Yep.
And do your best to not talk over them. Just listen to what they're saying and then wait until they're done until you chime in.
I think Elliot and my alone podcasts are a good example of two people not fully listening to each other.
Well, and I think it gets really hard too when you're doing like the Zoom podcast because there's always that like just slightest delay that you're like, oh wait, no, you go. Okay.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it's
the,
just
the
not that
vibes are
smooth.
easier to harness in person for sure.
Those were his big things.
Those are the big
Listen,
ones.
talk slow.
Talk slow and listen. Well, that's what we're going to do today. Today we're going to talk about holiday nutrition topics as well as possibly some New Year's resolutions. I'm sure the two of you have some opinions on New Year's resolutioning. So I came up with some questions. I thought we could start it off easy, like, light. And we're getting into the holiday season. And our two, fierce fire breathers at the gym. I want to know, what are your favorite holiday treats or traditions, food related traditions that you're going to thoroughly enjoy?
Hmm. I don't have a specific holiday tradition yet. As I have 2 young children, we're kind of developing our own traditions. Like thus far, we have not put cookies out for Santa because I would literally forget about it. And my kids are, Mara's only 4
Like in years
now.
past. You
Yeah,
just
in
haven't
years
done them.
past, we haven't done it like for the kids, and we certainly didn't do it before kids because,
Why not? Why wouldn't you do
you
that?
know, Santa wasn't as generous at our house, probably because we didn't leave him cookies. Um,
Fair.
so I don't have a specific answer to this. I do just like it's one of the only times at holidays I make any sort of dessert.
Mhm.
So I just look forward to eating those things.
Does your oldest child get excited for those things.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. She's always asking me when is the next birthday, which is Brian. His birthday's next weekend. And then she asks him, "What kind of cake do you want?" And again, in years past, before children, we wouldn't like
Really
necessarily
be thinking
have
about that.
cake. But so anyway, now we're gonna have some chocolate cake. Whatever Mara deems Brian needs to have for his birthday is what we will do.
She is the queen after all.
Yes. But I think we'll probably do some like different cookie making and stuff. We got a really cute snowman cookie jar, and Mara's like really itching for there to be things in there.
Mm.
So I think we'll do that.
Nice. Nice. Okay. What about you, Elliot? Any treats that you make or somebody in your family makes only this time of year that you indulge in, or traditions that you enjoy?
I'll go pretty hard on some gingerbread cookies if
like
they're done
gingerbread?
right, and I'm highly
Yeah.
critical. They're hard to do right.
You a chewy or a crispy guy?
It doesn't matter. It's more about how it tastes, but typically a little on the chewier side. But if it has some frosting and it's like almost a ginger snap flavor, closer
Like
to
a little
that.
spicy,
A little bit of spice, but not when you're just like,
smacked in the
that
face
is
with
the
ginger.
whole ginger snap. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll house 5 of those easily.
Wow.
No problems.
I didn't actually know people enjoyed eating.
He also likes
Gingerbread
oatmeal raisin
cookies.
cookies.
That's another thing. They're always available. No one likes gingerbread cookies, so like they make them and people put effort, and I crush them. So not only do I get what I want, but then the person that made them are like, people enjoyed
Somebody
my
actually
cookies.
ate this.
Oh,
So
I
you're
always
welcome,
Yeah.
gingerbread making people.
I'll take a chewy, very chewy gingerbread cookie. But like the ones that you can build a house with, no thank you.
Well, yeah, I'm not biting on people's houses, but I'll bite a leg off.
Elliot's in the kitchen over the gingerbread house, just engorging.
this section of the roof's gone.
Yeah.
There's a leak over here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I have a favorite thing. My stepmom makes, she calls them magic cookie bars. You probably know them as 7-layer bars, but they were just something that she only made during the holidays, and she makes a mean magic cookie bar. So those, she'll make like one canister of them, and we'll, pound them down on New Year's Eve or Christmas Eve or something like that, and it'll be good.
Comment below your go-to holiday food treat.
What are you gonna indulge in this year, guilt-free, because it's the holidays, and that's what we want for you.
Which is a great question. Should we be guilt-free during the holidays, Jackie? Should we do whatever we want nutritionally?
I think it depends on what you deem the holidays. If we deem the entire month of December and then maybe bleeding a little bit into the new year as the holidays, probably no, because that's a long time. That's like 1/12
That's not
of
the
the
holidays.
whole
That's
year.
the Halloween.
Yeah, that's but if we're thinking of like just those holiday events, maybe just Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, whatever. That's maybe 3 days, and even if it's just a few meals, sure, you can put your goals on hold and just indulge and enjoy yourself. I think the more important thing is what you do after the fact, and not let there be this indulging hangover where it turns into the next morning. You don't get up, you sleep in, you have, maybe a less than healthy breakfast, you delay getting back into your workouts, you delay getting back into meal planning and meal prepping. And so it's the more we kind of push off those things in the sake of like enjoying the holidays or indulging in the holidays, that's kind of where there starts to be a little bit of a gray area, because you're just letting those things stretch into like an excuse to overindulge at that point. And I think it also really depends on what your goals are and how serious you are about them. I don't think the majority of us in here are looking to be like ultra competitive CrossFitters or athletes in some space. If you were looking to be, an extremely competitive athlete, on some level, maybe you take it more seriously and indulge a little less.
Yeah.
Maybe you have, so again, you just have to reflect back on what your goals are and how the indulging is going to affect you, um, and in pursuit of those goals.
So, what kind of advice would you give somebody who is going to spend like a whole week not at their own house. It's gonna be at a parent's house or an in-law's house, or let's say just at least beyond those couple of days that they would want to indulge, and doesn't have a lot of control over what's going on. Everybody else is having pumpkin pie for breakfast because it's fun.
And it's not their kitchen or their refrigerator.
Right, it's not their kitchen, not their fridge, or in my situation, tiniest fridge on the planet at my in-laws' house, and so if I bring any food, like, I literally have to bring a cooler. So which sometimes I will, but what kind of advice would you give someone who's trying to keep balance during the holidays, but is staying for an extended period at a not their own home?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it depends again if you can kind of chat with the other people who are going to be involved. How many meals are we planning to have together? So you can maybe do a little bit of planning ahead of time. If there's literally no refrigerator space available, planning meals that don't require refrigeration or very small windows of refrigeration. So you could bring, some dried oats or
Mhm.
oatmeal packets or something like that with some dried fruit that you're going to add to them. Any fresh fruit, most fresh fruit is
Yeah,
stable
shelf
at room
stable.
temperature. So, like oranges, apples, bananas, all that stuff.
Yep.
Planning really simple things like that for yourself, whether you make yourself like an overnight oats that you're adding some, um, protein powder into, and then you just like stick your one little thing in the fridge, like overnight so that you have like your quick breakfast and you can do that for yourself. That's just one example. Packing your own snacks if you can, or going out and buying yourself some snacks.
Mm.
And so just doing as much planning ahead of time as possible and trying to also get, those that you're staying with maybe to do a little bit of meal planning as well. And then maybe if you can be, if possible, giving some input, or you could even volunteer to cook one of the meals or cook a lunch or a
Yep.
breakfast or a dinner, whatever it is, so that maybe you can insert a little bit of control where possible
Yeah.
and a little bit of influence and just show others, hey, this is how we normally eat.
Mhm.
um, and maybe not everybody enjoys whatever you prepare. Maybe it's more vegetables than they're used to seeing at dinner time. But I don't
Yeah.
think you have to be apologetic of wanting to do those things either.
Do you guys do this if you, go home or go to your parents' house for the holidays? Is that something that you do?
I tend to be the planner in the family, in terms of food. So I'm usually the one ahead of time who's like,
What are
'cause
we doing?
just this is
Yeah.
my role in my family is, like,
I do the
I
same thing.
plan
Yeah.
the menu for everything, and so I'm constantly thinking, like, "How are we gonna have all of these people eating food?" And then I'll sit down with my sister or whoever, and we'll kind of just loosely plan out what we're gonna do just to make sure we have groceries, so we don't have to be running out, also, like, wasting time
Mhm.
multiple
Mhm.
times, and just plan some of the bigger meals, um, cooking a lot of food so that there's, like, leftovers for lunch or whatever, so we don't feel like we're constantly cooking. And then we usually do, over the holidays, if we're fortunate enough to have my brother around, my brother's a chef.
Oh,
So he
fabulous.
usually does something that puts all my food to shame.
Oh,
So I'm like, same ingredients, same kitchen, same tools, everything, but yet somehow
Just
this is so
so
much
different.
better.
Yeah.
So much
Salt and
better.
pepper just makes
They
it
hit
different.
different
Yeah.
when
I
applied
know.
by a
And
chef.
it is amazing to watch him cook because he uses like way more salt and pepper than your average Joe.
Yeah, I mean, sidebar, I have tried to just do more seasoning, and 9 times out of 10, it goes really well. I did, like, absolutely obliterate some fish recently, like, inedible. It was not good. But other than that, like, more salt than you think, or, like, salting water for pasta or adding, like, a little more salt in meat, it does make a difference. It
It
makes it really
does.
better.
And you have to like continually taste things, and that's what I like about cooking over
Yeah,
baking is that you can
true.
adjust things. There is a point of no return. Um
Yeah, yeah,
but the more you do it and the more you adjust your flavors, you get more used to it as well.
yeah.
What it should taste like when it's properly seasoned.
Mm, mm,
Cuz salt is used to enhance like natural flavors and like all different things.
right.
So you're trying to get to the point where it has just the right amount of salt that you're enhancing the flavor appropriately.
What about holiday hacks? Like things that you holiday healthy eating hacks, things that you I have a few examples. I'm not gonna put words in your mouth because you've given them to me. I am one of Jackie's very regular clients. And, sometimes you just can't get away from indulgent meals, snacks being out all day, all of the desserts, all of the booze. So, like, a good example of one that I heard from, a nutrition podcast couple years ago was, a couple, they're both very, fit oriented. One of them is a dietitian. And so when they go home, he's from down south. It's very indulgent food the whole time. So what they do on the sort of festive nights when there's parties is they decide I'm either going to drink or I'm going to have sweets, but I'm not going to have both. And so that's just one of those hacks where it's some sort of limiting factor that you're applying, but you're, still trying to strike a balance. I know that you have other, tips for things like that for being at a party. But
Mhm.
what are your hacks? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I think one Um, easy one is to try not to skip meals. I think a lot of times
Mm,
we'll kind of hold out knowing that we're gonna have some big indulgent meal later. It's like, well, I don't want to eat lunch today because then I won't have enough
yeah,
room
the
for that
holiday ham.
gigantic dinner.
Yeah.
Or
And
they think, well, I'm not going to eat because I'm going
I'm
to
gonna have so many
overindulge.
calories.
So
Yeah.
I'm just going to
right,
save it, when in reality, you can still feel that like fulfilled, I had everything that I wanted, but you don't have to like hate yourself after.
Yeah.
Like, I can
right,
have my 7 gingerbread cookies, but if I skip lunch and I had 16, then I don't feel as good.
right. Because you tend to
For
go into
sure.
those situations like so ravenous that you're like hovering over the cheese and cracker plate and just like shoveling those down and like
Yeah.
10 minutes later, you're like, "I just ate a whole block of cheese. Like, why didn't I
Yeah.
just eat lunch? Because I could have come in, said hello to grandma, and had a conversation and
Yeah, now
not
you don't
pressed the
even
cheese
want the
board."
holiday ham.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that I find to be an easy one. Try not to skip meals when possible. Drink water throughout the day. Um, if you're going to be drinking alcohol, maybe having a plan, whether you bring, some alcohol substitutes with you. So maybe you enjoy a glass of whatever, a beer or a wine, whatever, while you're there. But then you also have something, whether you bring seltzers with you, non alcoholic beers,
Yeah.
or you have, you drink water between, alcoholic beverages, whatever it is to kind of pace yourself. And this is all dependent on, your own habits too.
Yeah.
Um,
I think in terms of the alcohol, some one hack that you could call it is if you bring one of those like measuring shot glasses and just measure your drinks. Oftentimes you'll go and there will just be bottles opened, and
Yeah.
most people when they buy mixed drinks, they're buying it from a professional bartender that is measuring them
Doing a
consistently.
pour. Yeah.
When you are pouring, maybe your first pour is a little bit, shy or whatever, but then as your the feelings go up and the energy increases, sometimes that like blop blop pour turns into like blop 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 blop. Oh yeah, a little splash of crayon, and you're like off, and then you're like, wow, I feel really different. Like I just fell off this cliff. Instead of just, even if it's like takes an extra second and you're pouring like 2 shots in there, it can really give you a sense of like, oh, I've had 6 drinks already.
Mhm.
6 ounces or 12
Mhm.
ounces or whatever, however you want to measure. But instead of just going by feel, because everyone knows when you're drunk, your feelings of how many drinks you've had in the reality can be way different.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that would be my key takeaway on alcohol, would be to just measure as much as you can. Obviously, if you're drinking beers, that's even easier. You could just, you know, one beer. But I think if you have just opened capped bottles or wine, kind of like have some type of measuring.
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
one.
On the topic of alcohol, I mean, Michael and I quit drinking just before the holiday season 2 years ago. And it was definitely difficult, to go through the holidays that first time, but mostly you're just like, well, whatever, I could have a drink. But I will say, if that's something that you're interested in doing and trying to not drink throughout the holidays, I found a lot of help from making some sort of mocktail. Like, even if it's literally just like seltzer with a splash of cranberry juice, it's really not a mocktail, but like it just feels like a drink. It, put it in a nice glass with ice and a straw, or like just something to make you feel like you're part of the party. And I find it does help quite a bit. And then, you can get really wild from there. I mean, you can make mocktails of all sorts of things. You can spend a lot of money on fake alcohol, which just doesn't really make sense to me. I'm a big seltzer water, splash of some sort of juice. Good to go.
Right. And I think what happens with not drinking alcohol is you actually make other people more uncomfortable by your choice to not drink. They're like, "Wait,
Totally.
why are you drinking a
Totally.
non-alcoholic beer? What's the point?" And I think that's, not your problem, and it's not you don't if you decide you don't wanna drink, you don't have to apologize for that
Yeah.
ever.
Our families are just getting used to it. Both of our sets of parents are, I mean, drinkers. They enjoy beers and wines and all sorts of things. And for a while, it was like every time we went home, "You guys want a glass of wine?" "Nope, we quit drinking." "Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. You guys are still doing that, huh?" Just those kinds of things. Um, but yeah, I mean, my dad, like quitting has actually been something that's, I think, made him really think about it a lot. Like, like that's possible. Never thought that. So I think it also can like rub off positively on other people in your life. So if you have somebody in your life, I mean, similar with nutrition, like you were saying, show people, how you can prioritize a healthier lifestyle. Um, that can rub off on them as well. But we've seen the discomfort as well. So we get
Yes.
it.
And I don't come from, like, a huge drinking family or anything, at least um, not anymore. My dad's been sober for I don't know how many years it's been now, like 12 years or
Oh,
something.
nice. Yeah.
So we used to indulge a lot more back in the day. But yeah, same with ours. Like my family's getting more used to the fact that like I don't really drink, and so I'm just not like providing those things, and so it just like there's less available because I tend to be the one hosting holidays at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. It is interesting at like a family party. I mean, my family is one of those families that like there's like a 50-50 chance an argument will erupt. And being sober helps so much. It helps so much. Just to have one person or one couple there that's like can see when things are escalating and draw it back. We're talking about a topic that's dancing around something problematic. Um, so it is interesting to be the only sober person at a holiday party though. That's for sure. One, it's helpful. Two, it's sort of like, wow, this isn't at a certain point, it's like not as fun as it looks. Like, if you were inebriated, it's like, this would be a great you think it was a great party, but at the end of the day, you're like, "I could also just literally drive home right now, and it's the same." So, alright, well, one of my favorite holiday hacks.
I was just gonna say this. I already know what you're gonna say, but you say it.
You do? Okay, I'm curious if you're correct. I bet you are. One of
Make a
my
plate.
Yes, it is! That's one of my holiday hacks. So, I am cheese and crackers girl, okay? I just love me some cheese and crackers, little jam, little s little sausage or something. Yeah, that's my jam.
Not sausage and jam together.
Oh, I'll mix and match, baby. I love it all. Smorgasbord or whatever. So, left to my own devices of just picking, I don't care if I've had my meals all day. Like, I would overeat the cheese platter for sure, no question. So, I, over the years, have started to say, okay, there's usually some little pretty plates that somebody puts out, some little paper plates. Take one of those paper plates, make a plate of, a couple of pairings of things, leave the area and go, sit somewhere else and enjoy that plate and then, be done.
Leave the
Sometimes,
area.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
important.
yeah, leave the area and, go create a talking space somewhere else. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, if you just know that you have like trigger foods or something like that, I just have some of those where I'm just gonna overeat, and so it helps for sure. It's the same thing in my house. My stepmom will always get like M&Ms or like this. She gets them on Easter, but like the Cadbury egg balls or whatever, just in bowls out throughout the house. And it's like I've got to position myself away from the bowl of M&Ms because I'll just So something similar to that. But that's my favorite holiday hack. Okay. I have a more challenging question
Ooh.
that I think both of you could
Is this
maybe
going to be
comment on.
like an algebra problem or something?
Well, I think a lot of our listeners, especially, I mean, people from the gym who've been here for a while. I mean, you, you are a listener. Um, I think we are on this like maybe more educated, more knowledgeable journey of like what proper nutrition looks like. Not yo-yo dieting, not like somebody who like won't eat a vegetable. And I think a lot of us have those people in our family. And as you start to become more enlightened about what just like truly balanced nutrition looks like, it can start to highlight the unhealthy habits within your family unit. And I know that's something that Michael and I struggle with a lot. And so we go home for indulgent things, or when we go home, that's when we indulge. But then we realized we're not taking that opportunity to show our family how we live most of the time. So we've tried to, incorporate healthier decisions anytime we go home, including the holidays. But do you guys think there's like a time at which any you have should you take an opportunity to address a family member's nutrition with them? Maybe not during the holidays, or maybe during the holidays. But what are your thoughts on trying to address healthy lifestyles with your family members?
Typically during the holidays, no, unless they engage with me and say, hey, what's this, or what would you do here?
Hmm.
And most of the time they're just asking they don't even want to know the answer. I feel like
Yeah,
they
they're not
just
going to
feel
implement it.
obligated.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, you probably don't eat any of this, huh? This is
What are you
probably,
just gonna have the turkey and green
yeah,
beans?
yeah, you're just going to drink water and stuff. And then I'm like, again, on my 7th gingerbread cookie, like, no, I'm eating what I like.
Yeah.
And
Do you
so,
ever feel like some sort of pressure to not eat the 7 gingerbread cookies?
no, not at all. I'm totally okay with it.
Okay. So
Yeah,
you're not you're
I have a
not
very
thinking
good
like, "Oh, I have this
relationship with.
higher calling to show them that
So
you can
like,
have one cookie and move on."
no, if anything, it's kind of the opposite of
You
like
physically
they could
can't
be like,
not
look,
have.
Elliot's enjoying himself, and then hopefully that they take the time to think to themselves, okay, well, why can Elliot do whatever he wants during the holidays and look like that and have that body composition, but then I do whatever I want on the holidays and I gain 15 pounds throughout the holiday season? Like, what's happening? And maybe that sparks a, internal dialogue, or maybe not. That's not my intention, but I'm just doing whatever. But I think it's more important that they reach out to you, because then they're actually going to be more receptive. And then unless it's like, I would say like life threatening or like
But
a
when is
very
when is
bad
it
road,
life threatening?
I would say when I'm more likely to do it the younger the person is, for like a more of an early intervention of like, hey, like maybe we should start, like if you have a very overweight family member or something and they just year over year are getting bigger and bigger, and they seem to not know, they just are starting to subscribe to like well, this is just me. And then you can just,
Yeah.
you kind of initiate, well, what are you eating, like what's kind of, and then they go over it, and then you can kind of just say like, just start talking about food, not saying what they're doing is wrong or right, but just kind of like, well, what are you eating? Do you think that's better? Like, what do you feel like you're missing? Are you hungry all the time? Things like that. But
So that's for the person who is just whatever about it.
that's for the people that are just like year over year seemingly less and less healthy. The older the person is, and if they definitely don't bring it up, there's not really much you can do. I mean, it would just be like me walking up to a random person, or maybe worse than, just because then they feel like immediately attacked, and then they're like, and then that relationship can be scarred. I'm sure even Jackie has felt that, like, you'll work with somebody with nutrition and you'll make some progress, and maybe they have to stop working with you for whatever reason, and then anytime you see them outside of the gym or in the grocery store, they give you that like, oh
Don't
shit,
look at
she's gonna
this.
ask me, oh god, she's gonna see those Pop-Tarts in my cart and think, and they just like, and you're just like, I didn't even notice, I was just trying to keep my kids alive and stop Mara from jumping out of the cart. And you can buy whatever food that you want that makes you feel good, but there are certain things that you need to do. So I think approaching family members on health and fitness, especially during the holidays, unprompted, is a terrible idea.
Yeah, not the right time. But I feel like it's a place where you can, like, I personally take, like, I'm taking a little bit of note of, certain family members that you are, I have watched them gain weight over the years, or I
Mhm.
have watched them, like, kind of open that door with me, especially, like, in the last couple of years, I've made progress, fitness wise, like, to start at, like, asking some things or kind of mentioning their diets.
Mhm.
But you also, people who mention diets that are like, oh, well, I started taking these essential oil pills that are supposed to help with my metabolism. And you're like, interesting.
I'll
Okay.
attack that.
Right.
If somebody puts that stuff out where they're like not living like I don't want to say healthiest lifestyle, but like they're not doing,
they're using
but
misinformation.
then they're just now applying, like they're doing all of these things that aren't beneficial to like a healthy lifestyle, and then they say, oh, I started this new thing.
Like, they're trying, but with the wrong
Yeah,
thing.
it's like, wait, you spent a bunch of money on this like juice cleanse packet thing for the next 3 months, and like this is, so I'll attack the product. I won't attack their decision on the so I'll just like, and by attack I mean I just kind of like poke it, like, well, why do you think that works? And they'll be like, oh, because I'm doing juices in the morning instead of like breakfast and lunch. And it's like, oh, so you're just skipping 2 meals and then eating or drinking 300 calories. Do you think you're losing weight because of the juice, or do you think because you're only eating 300
you're
calories
trying to
in 12
enforce
hours?
calorie deficit. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and then it's like, do you think you could eat something better than that that's 300 calories or more than that? And then so that's kind of, but again, I'm not saying like you're doing it wrong. I just ask questions and then see where, because most people know a lot of the right answers. It's like, hey, do you think a sleeve of Oreos or like chicken and broccoli would be a better choice for 1,000 calories?
Yeah, but they just get lost in the
Is this
quick
wrong?
fixes,
Is
and
this
all I
bad?
have to
Or
do is take this pill
I'm on
and
a cookie
everything's going to
diet.
change.
And it's
Yeah.
like, just eat cookies or a cookie, the good cookies, and then do the other stuff instead of trying to make your cookies taste like, like keep watering down a cookie so bad that you have like, I get to eat 7 cookies a day, but they taste like chalk and peanut butter. You're just like,
Yeah, the pre-portioned snack. That's the, like, latest
yeah.
craze diet or something. I
Yeah,
forget what
but
it's
I think
called.
there are a lot of people that are eating whatever they want and doing how they want to do it, and approaching them, I think, can be worse in most situations. So unless they're like
Yeah,
truly
because they're
asking,
set in, like, this is going to work for me, and how dare you sabotage what I'm trying to do. Yeah.
Well, and I think I would agree with Elliot in that I also do not bring up people's diets or like question them or anything like that during the holidays or really in general. I kind of let people ask me questions, or I
Mhm.
might, if it's someone who I'm concerned about in whatever way, having a conversation that maybe reflects back to just like, I'm just sharing experiences either of myself or like other people I'm working with, and not in the way that I'm shining the light on them, but maybe giving them like a little bit of a blueprint to like get them to the point where they want to ask me something about themselves, or they might start seeking advice, or maybe even just reflecting like, maybe I should be doing something different, because I might even just ask a question like, oh, like, have you been working out recently, or have you tried any good recipes lately? What do the kids like to eat for breakfast?
Yeah.
Just asking like kind of somewhat innocuous questions that can then lead to a greater conversation. But for the most part, for a lot of people, nutrition is just like deeply personal. It can feel like really shameful to some people
Yeah,
because they
totally.
they get into this pattern of like, I know what I need to do, I just have to do it. And you
which is a
don't
very
want.
dangerous place to be in, where you think you're somewhere, where I know like that sentence, I'm sure you've heard a lot, and I heard a lot in the fitness side of it, of like, I know what to do and I have a gym at home, I just need to do it. It's like they think that they're at like the 99-yard line and they're almost there, and like all they have to do is do it, when in reality they're way
All the
before
work
that.
is
They
ahead
have,
of you.
yeah, they need all the discipline and the routine and the consistency. There's so much more that needs to happen than to just, they think that there's just one step away from a healthy lifestyle. It's like you are
Yeah, but
so far
that
away.
first
But they
step
need to take
and that
that step.
second step and that third step are all the same amount of effort to take
They just think
every
it's
single
like,
day.
it's just right there. Like I'll just be able to do it and it's like,
No.
when
No,
you're in
but
that mindset.
But when someone makes that statement to me, then I try to help them through well, how are you going to get there? What is going to be the next thing? Someone tells me, I want to drink warm water. I go, how are you going to do that? What are you going to do next? Where is your water bottle?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so
I've done that because you do that to me.
They're great questions, and you can also tell quickly how the conversation is going when somebody provides a limitation that they have, like, I just can't work out because my gym is closed or it's too far away in between houses.
knee
And then you
itches.
say, or my knee itches every Tuesday. And then you say something like, well, why don't you just like work on push-ups? And they'll say, well, I can't do push-ups. I'm not strong enough. And I say, and I'll show them like a countertop push-up. And they're like, well, like, I don't know.
I could do that, but that's going to take forever.
And they keep providing, and then they just keep moving the roadblock. And you're like, okay, well, you don't actually want to get in shape. You just want to be someone who isn't capable of allowing
you don't want to get in shape. You just want to be in shape. Like, you just want that to
you
happen
love the
for
idea
you.
of being in it, and working out sucks for a lot of people. Like, it doesn't feel
You do
good.
really have to love the process. Like, you really, I think you have to get to
fall
that place.
in love with the process. It's not like obviously it's a very physical reaction to your body. It's not like your body isn't designed to be like, yeah. But over time, the cause benefit, you start to really crave it and really enjoy
the results that
it
you
is.
get.
And so you have to kind of just keep showing up and being okay with hating it and just doing it. And then eventually you'd be like, you know what? I actually do feel better when I go on my walk or elliptical.
Well, and can I just add one more thing? If you have a family member who, maybe is engaging with you, this is for all of our listeners out there who might have these conversations, all 3 of you now.
Mom, Amanda, Regina.
Oh, Billy? Okay, so we're up to 4.
Julie, maybe, if it's a good day, if she's not busy.
If you have a family member who approaches you because they know you're, extremely consistent with your fitness and your nutrition and ask you, like, what can I do? Or just start opening those conversations with you, help that person come up with one simple positive thing that they want to start doing and think they can do on a regular basis. It can be something
they can achieve.
It can be something as simple as getting up from their desk and going for a walk around the block during work. It could be, I'm going to drink, even if they drink no water in the day, I'm going to drink 16 ounces of water in the day. It could be, I'm going to eat breakfast every single day. Doesn't matter what it is.
That's
just
the one
eat
that
something
I usually
for
point people
breakfast
to.
and help them come up with something very small that they can just start doing that falls within the realm of like what, a healthy lifestyle looks like. It takes a long time to get to a place where you can look at your whole lifestyle, your whole diet and fitness routine and think, wow, I'm really healthy. And it takes a long time to get there. And very few people can kind of like zoom back and look at their whole life and be like, wow, I'm really healthy. Like 99% of the time, like most of us can't say that. And it's not really necessary if we're not, elite level athletes or something like that. We don't necessarily need to be that. There needs to be some level of balance. But to get to that point, it takes, just a lot of those little teeny tiny steps, like eating breakfast every morning, working in some regular physical activity, even if it's not a structured workout, just getting up, getting some blood flow, getting used to the idea of not sitting all the time.
But give them one thing. That's
just
the biggest
one thing. Because it's not just like, okay, and I need to meal prep, and I need to eat vegetables
so
16 times a day, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and I should probably be working out 5 times a week. It's like, great, you worked out 5 times this week, and then you take the next 51 weeks off versus working out 1 time per week for a whole year.
Yep.
That's 5 workouts versus 52 workouts. Working out 1 time per week is way better than working out for a whole week and then never working out again.
Totally.
So
that is actually, I think this is a good segue into talking about New Year's resolutions, because I think we are also among a community of people who are like, take them or leave them. Like, don't really need them. We set new intentions all the time.
Hold on, I think there was a moment. There was like an attack against New Year's resolutions for the past like 5 years, and I noticed it where, and I think this is more of a social media-ism, where every year people would set goals and then most people would fail on them. And so people started like attacking it like it wasn't cool. Like, oh, you're one of those.
Yeah, the problem
nerds
is
and
the
stuff.
resolution.
And so like people like started picking at that, like it's not cool. You should be embarrassed if you said. They weren't saying those exact things, but they were posting things to like make you like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna
you
live
really-
my life. I'm not
yeah.
gonna like set a silly New Year's resolution. And it's like that's not good to just be like, no, I'm not actually going to set goals because goals are silly. I'm just going to do whatever. It's like there is nothing wrong, and most successful people sit down and plan out their year, at least put down like a bare bones skeleton, and then sprinkle in the habits to get there. That's the important part that you were talking about. It's like you need the goal, but then you need like, what habits am I going to do along the way? Like drink more water per day. Okay.
How are you going to do that?
Do I have a water bottle with me? Okay, yes. When am I going to drink this water? Is it when I wake up? Okay,
How am I going to
great.
remember? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to set a reminder on my phone. Okay, you have that. It's June now and you forgot. Get back on the horse, and then half of the year is hydrated. You know what I mean? It's like to not set a plan or to go against the whole like, oh, I don't want to follow the crowd of the New Year's resolution. It's like that's such a silly stance to take. I think if you're really looking for like changes in your life.
Yeah, I think my gripe with New Year's resolutions is that if you already know what you want your resolution to be, why wait until New Year's?
Yeah,
right now.
Just
right
you have to just start.
Implement some of these holiday hacks and
right, and it might not be
nutrition.
perfect, and the holidays could feel like a challenging time for some people because they're faced with disruption to their routine, but it could also be a good time because a lot of workplaces are much lighter, so they might have a little bit more time to be home, be like, I'm going to try out this meal prep thing that I hear people talk about. And they might have a little bit more free time because they're not getting as many work emails. Their kids aren't in school, so they're just like spending more time at home. And so maybe you could take this as an opportunity to try something new.
Yeah, build up some momentum, as I like to say.
We have a great meal prep YouTube video.
Excellent.
On the Dauntless Academy page. It's very
with
basic.
Some under-seasoned food.
It's very basic. I think it's a huge mistake to try to go into the meal prep game and think that you're going to make like these like grand meals that it's exhausting, and it takes a really high level of, it's like looking at the CrossFit Games and being like, I'm going to set that workout out and start working out like them. It's like, how about counter push-ups and doing air squats? Like, how about salt and pepper on chicken and make some rice and broccoli and avocado, cut that up, prep that, put that in containers, and then be like, done. Took me an hour, good. Instead of being like, oh my God, I meal prep for 8 hours. I have all these ridiculous, I have these chilies, I have a different meal every single day. I can't do that next week. This is exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, I think the key to meal prep for every individual person is finding the unique balance for you of the amount of, like, the least amount of work it takes you for food that you will actually eat throughout the week. Like, because for me, I'm someone who, like, I do want to eat like a queen every day. Sure. And I don't have kids. I don't have a life. So I have to, after I leave cardio club today, all the time in the world to plan my meals and figure out things I'd like and talk to my husband about things he'd like to have this week, go and make, great meals. And when I do more thorough meal prep, I actually eat the meals. If I go super light, like if I don't have the time and I just say, okay, I'm going to do turkey wraps, just buy the stuff, and I'm going to have really, really simple meals this week, and I'll just prep some oatmeal, overnight. That shit sits in my fridge and rots. Like I have absolutely no interest in eating it. So I have to do more prep to actually eat the food. So
I just think starting with the complicated stuff I think start with the boring chicken and then be like, you know what, next week I'm going to do this next. And then over the course of 6, 8, 12 months, then you're making all this awesome, cool, like doing all this stuff.
Right.
Yes. But you could also start, you could start with easy 2 ways. Because there are people like me who will start with easy and that stuff will rot in their fridge. And then that's also going to get them to next Sunday and go, I can't do this again because this is such a waste of money. You could also prep one really good meal. Only prep breakfast and prep like a dope frittata that you're going to eat every freaking day. You're going to love it. Or 2 different types because you need some variety. Like just start with the one meal and then build on top of that. Yes.
Shannon just wants to disagree with me.
Hey,
I know. I
I'm a
love how
big meal
you both
prepper.
are the ones telling everyone about how to do the meal prep.
I know. We have our registered dietitian here. We don't need
No,
Jackie.
but I do agree with Shannon that you have to find the unique balance for you and what you'll actually eat, and that takes trial and error. And
Totally.
just like anything, you have to try different things. You don't just keep meal prepping the same things over and over and be like, well, at least I'm being healthy. Like if you don't like it, try something else. Like you gotta mix it up. Like I personally don't do like a huge meal prep day. I tend to plan like a few meals at a time, and I'll just like cook on a regular basis and make like more of it so that I have leftovers for lunch. You know, we have a couple nights a week where Mara's in activities till like 5 o'clock or something. And then by the time I get home, when you have small children, you eat dinner at like 5:30. That's just how life goes. So
Yeah.
if dinner's not on the table by 5:30, we're all in tantrum,
Yeah.
including me.
Things are not going well.
So I like to have some things like left over to pull from for easy meals and whatever.
Yeah.
But I personally don't have the time to be spending like multiple hours at a time cooking food unless I have, someone helping me with the kids that weekend.
Yeah.
So figuring out what works for you, having things that you'll eat. And even it can be meal prep can be as simple as like for me, like I like to scroll through Instagram, like find some recipes that I really like that look really good. Like, ooh, that chili looks really good. And so
Yep.
just make that chili. Maybe make a double batch of it. You eat it for dinner and you have it for lunch for the rest of the week. And like, I'm gonna eat this for lunch for a week. So that's like Sunday dinner and lunch, Monday through Friday or something like that.
Yep.
You get to Tuesday, you're like, I really like this chili, but I cannot eat it for dinner again. Throw it in the freezer because then you can whip that out next week or in 2 weeks. And then maybe on Wednesday, you make something else for dinner and that gets you through the rest of the week.
Yeah.
Something like that. So it doesn't have to be as complicated as like setting aside your entire Sunday to chop half the produce section and, have your fridge jam packed full of, your perfectly portioned meals.
Yeah.
And maybe
Yeah.
you work up to that point because you find that really appealing. And maybe you never get to that point because that just doesn't work for your lifestyle.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a meal prep Sunday. So I and my bigger thing is that like I for myself have to create that time. Like I have to make that time to do that because it really does set me up for success. And like I said, the weeks that I go light or try to do simple things ends up being more wasteful in my own time and psyche and nutrition at the end of the day. Um, but I have to get over like, oh, we're home visiting family and it's, I forget what day Christmas is on, but it's like I'm gonna meal prep the day after Christmas for the remaining week between then and New Year's. Like I have to not feel bad about getting up at 8 o'clock and saying, bye family, we're leaving. I'm going to spend the day for myself. So I have that problem more often. That's what gets in the way of my meal prep is like just feeling bad about dedicating that time on a Sunday when I could be doing something with family or friends and having to say no to those things. But it's
That
the
could
better
also,
trade-off for me at the end of the
Mhm.
day.
And that could also be a good opportunity too to have some stuff maybe knowing that you want to have good meals ready for you. You know that now you could always like plan an extra meal into your meal prep and put it in the freezer already.
Yeah.
And so you have a couple things to draw from for that week.
Right. Right.
Some That's some advanced meal prepping. That's like the kind of stuff I did when like Miley was about to come. Like I prepped a bunch of stuff so that I had like easy meals to just like dump into the crock pot
Yeah.
and be like dinner.
This is
Done.
this is quickly turning into me and Jackie's weekly check-in.
Like, oh,
So
Shannon,
why
wait,
you
hold
make
on a
something
second.
on Friday night, you dumbass. All
You
right.
gotta
well-
prep the prep.
Yes, yes. So going back to New Year's resolutions. So I think we all agree that there's nothing wrong with resolving to change something about your life. Waiting for a particular day, 3 weeks from now, when you know what you want to change about your life, therein lies the problem with New
Lightly
Year's
start dabbling
resolutions.
now. Try it
Yeah,
out.
Right.
Start dabbling now, especially if you're heeding our early advice, Jackie's early advice, which is the holidays are really 3 days between now and the end of the year. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve. If you're treating them like that, okay, there's longer. But if you're treating
Still not the whole month.
yeah, it's still not the whole month.
Yeah.
So if you're treating the holidays truly as just the holidays, then there's space to start earlier. So I think we agree with that. So, do you guys have any recent goals or things, intentions for the year that you are dabbling with now or plan to dabble with very soon? Or do you just have things that you're working on yourself? What's 2023 going to bring for Jackie
I
and
mean,
Elliot?
there's always things that I've been trying to work on, and I have a new kid coming, so
big resolution.
figuring out.
Space for that kid.
And that's another thing. I think right now when people are like so busy, it's now is a really actually a great time to practice your habits or just kind of try to figure out when you are going to do it. So let's use the water example. You may be like, oh, I'm just going to drink more water and I'm going to drink it in the morning. And then you realize your mornings are very short and fast paced. And you actually don't, let's say you work in an office, you actually don't get any moments to yourself to drink the water until you get to the office. So then it would make more sense to have like your water bottle already at the office staying there. So, but you have to practice that. So it's like what will happen to people sometimes is they start their New Year's resolution, they have their perfect plan, it doesn't work out, and then they're like, it's like, no, fail at it a couple times and push around. So my New Year's resolution is to, or one of mine that I'm thinking of is just trying to make, this business even better and kind of run more smoothly without me being in every aspect of it and allowing people to just keep doing what they're good at. And then kind of just keeping the team energy and the cohesive unit that is our family together even more without, sometimes, and I'm sure now it's really easy to just like, everybody's working on the same team, but they're all kind of in their own silo, working hard for the family instead of integrating. So it's kind of hard. Like Christy and I just went on a date last night, and it's like, and we just like her and I just talked alone for like 2 hours, and then we like drove to the beach and just hung out.
That sounds great.
And so it was like
So sweet.
It's so important to just, and it was like
You have to create space
it's
for
sweet,
that.
but I mean, it's been like the last couple times we went on dates, we've been with other couples, or it's just been a time or a rush thing. So it was like first time we've just been like allowed ourselves to be bored around each other, and that's extremely rare. And so you kind of have to like, it sucks, but you have to like force those situations in there. And so that's kind of the goal, is just more space for just nothing to be planned, or to not feel like it's like we're doing something specific. Like we have to take Lucas to the park to play. Instead, just allowing just time alone together.
Just to marinate.
Just to do whatever. And so that's going to be a huge goal for next year, which
Slow down. I mean, that's what it sounds like.
Just be like next thing.
No time like having a new kid to slow down.
But I think if you
practicing now is going to be important.
I think if you prioritize it and you make some time where you're just like, hey, from Sunday from noon to 3, like we don't plan anything, and we just like,
whatever happens, happens.
Just exist.
Yeah, we exist and we just talk to each other.
You're going to have to get her off that yard work.
Well, it's winter,
It's over
the
now.
ground's frozen, and we're getting an addition, so that should be fine. It should be over.
That
Probably
noon to
2
3 is
weeks.
going to be just rattling through paint strips.
Hammer. So
You gotta work real hard to slow down.
That's good. I mean, because you really do have to practice that mentality, I think. Because I'm sure having the second child, I imagine, is going to force that on you, but not feeling badly about not being productive is something that you have to practice for sure.
Yeah, like I very rarely answer group text messages now, which pisses a lot of people off. But
Yeah, I know.
I don't do that. I usually just talk to people in person now. If you send me a message that doesn't require like a very specific response or even immediate, it doesn't have to be, but if you just say like, hey, I was driving by and I saw you outside of your house, I probably won't respond to that.
Not
But if
even
you're
like a thumbs up.
Nope. But if you say like, hey, are you going to be at the gym in 20 minutes? You'll probably get like a no or a yes. But if it's a group text of like, hey, let's blah, 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 I'm like, nah, nope. And that's just one that I did. And if that makes me a terrible person, then.
Well, and I guess if somebody texts you a second time, it's like, hey, like if you
And
get
then they
asked a
ask
question
me-
and you don't
And
answer,
they
it's another
specifically,
thing.
yeah, sure. But I get
All right.
messages from Facebook, Instagram, text. I don't have WhatsApp, but I'm sure I would get messages from there. It's just people just ask me questions all the time, and I'm like, I don't, or just tell me things, so I don't respond. If you send me a reel, I'll probably watch it, but I'm not gonna like give you my hot take on it.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll give you a thumbs up.
Maybe an
What's
LOL.
your-
Yeah. What
What's
about
your
you,
New Year's
Jackie? What's
resolution?
going on for you? What are you growing in your life or pulling
Uh,
back on?
well, usually I take the winter months when my garden is all shut down. I finished shutting it down yesterday, which is always very exciting because now I have a lot more mental energy to dedicate to other things. So now I've had to ignore the inside of my house for quite a while
Mhm.
because I have very little free time to spend in my garden. So now that that's all shut down, um, I have some home organization projects
Nice.
that I need
We
to
love.
really tackle. Because I so one thing I've like wanted to do for many, many, many years is I've always wanted to learn how to sew. And I kept putting it off for a long time, just like, oh, one day I'll learn how to sew. And then I kind of was just like, you know what? It's happening now.
Then you
I'm
had a
like,
daughter
there's
who
no
needed a
better time.
princess gown,
I had a
so
daughter who needed a princess gown. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna make it. And so in October I learned how to sew. And I set up a table for myself temporarily, like in the family room, right when you walk into my house. And I like working there because I can work there at night when the girls are asleep and feel like I'm not disturbing anyone, but it's like literally like in the middle of the room type of thing. So I do have a sewing machine. I My mom gave me her
Oh,
sewing machine.
well, if you ever price out,
It's been sitting in the closet for the last 6 years, and I finally dusted it off, and that 30-year-old singer still works.
and then you realize that it's the machine does it for you.
It basically does it for you. As Mara pointed out to me, as she was watching me, she's like, "It's like sewing it for you." I'm like, "Yes, this machine is sewing this dress for you."
but if you ever price out sewing machines, because I've also been like, I wanted a sewing machine just to fix things, and they're great to have. And then you start pricing them out, and you're like, this is like a whole thing. This will not pay for like just going to a tailor 4 times a year. Like,
Right.
you
Well,
gotta
I
like
think a sewing
commit.
machine is an easy thing to buy secondhand or to get from someone who has one collecting dust in their house and just like, "Oh, you want this? Here you go." I'm pretty shameless in asking around for things that I just want to
Oh yeah,
borrow
I
or
recommend
use
that.
for a short period of time. So
It's one of
anyway,
those
I need to
things.
create some space in my home to like
Yes,
have that
yes.
actually set up because if it's out, you're much more likely to use it than pulling the whole thing out, setting up a separate table, making sure you have enough space, getting all your tools out, finding your fabric, finding your patterns. Like
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
much more likely to continue engaging in this new hobby of mine
You have a
if it's
station.
out and set up. But I am also a person who likes having like clear
Yeah, things to
spaces. I
be
don't
put
like a lot
away.
of clutter. And when you have children, you have like so much stuff.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to just, create a little bit more of an organized space so that my brain can rest a little bit more in my
Right.
house.
Have it out but not feel overwhelmed by that. I totally get
Yes.
that. Well, that's good, Jackie. I like that.
Yeah. Something new.
Yeah, I mean,
What about you, Shannon? You gonna get a kid?
no, not gonna get a kid.
Leave her
That's
alone.
not in the cards. That's not in the plans. You never know
Not a bad
because
plan.
based on last podcast, we might have jinxed me.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I'm talking to two people that like really curate goals in my life with me, so I'm sure I have nothing surprising to say. I think my goals have been the same for a while. Honestly, like for the last couple of years, it's really been to increase my fitness, and I've certainly made tremendous progress over the last couple of years. So I don't really have any complaints. I think in the last 6 months, I've slowed down on progress by a combination of like, law of diminishing returns and it just being harder to make gains in, how much I can do at the gym and refining my nutrition. But I've also think I've just had like some like life stress and some setbacks in that regard that have just made it even that much more challenging to improve. So I think my biggest thing that helped me when I first set off a couple of years ago, Elliot and I had a goal setting session. Was working with Jackie and we was like, getting some great momentum, building up some small habits. And one of the biggest things I kind of said to myself was like, I'm just going to not give up. Like that's just like that's the absolute only thing I'm gonna say to myself. Like, I'm just gonna not give up. So even if I go home and have a really indulgent meal on a day I wasn't planning it, or I don't eat the breakfast that I planned, like I'm just going to get back on the horse every single time and try to close the gap in how much time it takes me to get back to the right or the behaviors I want to be acting on. So yeah, like not giving up is the only thing that has really resonated with me over the years. So I think in the last 6 months, I wouldn't say I've given up, but I've been happy with being stagnant through some of the things that have just been going on in my life. And I am back into this groove now of being like, okay, I just have to not give up on myself and on my goals and get back to, breathing fire in the gym because that's how I feel good. Prioritizing my Sunday. Nope, I'm leaving at 8 o'clock. And again, closing that gap. So if I didn't have a healthy breakfast today, trying to go, okay, I'm just going to have a healthy lunch, not going, oh, I'll start tomorrow. Like you have to close that gap by the time that you're getting back to it. So,
I love
yeah,
that.
that's my intention for these days.
I have one more.
Yes, go for it.
Of
For
course.
me?
No,
Beat Elliot in the open.
Yeah. How'd you know? I waited this whole time to
Say
bring
it.
it up.
Oh,
No, I've been working very hard on my fitness these last however long since I've had a baby.
girl, you've been slaying this game.
And I just want to beat Elliot in one open workout. I mean, two would be great, but I don't want to get
You
greedy.
don't want a hat trick?
I don't want to get greedy. No, because one open workout will definitely have gymnastics, and I am not at the point where I can beat Elliot in a bar
But
muscle
Elliot
up
will
workout.
have a newborn baby at that time.
I know, but he didn't birth it, so he'll
I
be
know, but
really,
we
really
also-
tired.
We know
He'll be really tired. I get it. You're gonna.
I participate in the relationship a
I
lot.
I know, but you won't have had your abdomen stretched to its limits and then
well,
contracted back
we're
and
not
recovered
talking
from it.
about
But
yes.
yes, I appreciate that you will be very tired and very
You're gonna
stretched.
be sleepy boy.
I know, and I'm gonna be coming in here breathing fire and talking shit
Yeah,
because I
you
haven't
best
been
be.
doing that for the last however.
And you did
long.
just beat me in the last workout, so who knows?
Did I have
I have
one
more
one
gray hairs
down?
in my beard.
Yeah, if you're not following T Elliott Field on Instagram, you need to so that you can see his Instagram stories.
My
on
Heat
a,
on
on a
Meat
regular
series.
Heat on Meat.
Which everybody's talking a little bit of shit saying it's basic, but we already went over in the beginning that just
I don't know,
because
I think
you
it's
don't
pretty
know how to use
basic.
salt and pepper and
Very
butter,
basic.
just because you guys don't know how to use salt and pepper and butter the right ways, my steak that I cook is delicious and it tastes like steak instead of
That
adding a
looked
bunch of
actually
stuff in
really
it.
good.
It is
I thought that
so
looked
good.
great.
And I just put rice on it and you just mix it together and all the flavors come out and it's not just like, and everybody loves it. Lucas loves it. He eats it. Christy eats it. I have to cook Christy's a little bit longer, but
Nobody here is attacking your food. You're good.
well, you're not in my DMs. They're like, this is so basic. Oh my God, add some flavor, do this. And I'm like, you don't even know what this tastes like. You have to salt it at the right time. And
Well,
pepper
and
at
let
the right
it.
time.
Yeah. Anyway,
Sorry.
this is not a how to
I
cook
took a
steak
But
properly
professional
podcast.
cooking class.
if you
Like,
want to follow,
I'm not a chef or anything, but like I know what I'm doing with certain heat on meat situations.
well, your Heat on Meat series is fine, but my preference goes to your Who Will Win series, Jackie or Elliot.
Yeah.
And I really do try to vote based on what the workout is and
Oh my
what
God,
I
there's
know.
so many haters.
What I know about you guys. Hey, I voted for you last time and you
I
lost.
did too.
I know. So here's the
lost
thing.
hard.
People will vote for me. If I win, everyone just goes, or they'll go, well, Jackie has 2 kids. If they vote for me and I lose, I get the, what the hell? I voted for you. Why did you lose? And it's like,
Even
and then
I
they're
said
like,
that.
Elliot,
and then
you
I'll get
put
like,
yourself
yay,
out-
Jackie. And it's like,
You put yourself out into the world with
it's
this
a
persona.
picture that says who's going to win. And Jackie's like this. And I'm just like this.
Yeah, but you.
I
asked
have
for this
regular
in the
face.
other ways
She's
that you are.
literally flexing in the picture.
When I won.
And no, before and after. You have like flexing pictures of like before.
The before I stood like this.
And
Yeah, but Elliot, then you also post these videos of you like literally in like 4 versions of you working out, and that's 10 times more than flexing in a photo.
And,
And also the default situation is that you win. Like you win the majority of the time. I can remember all the times that I won. It's not that many.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to close the gap a little bit.
or not so secretly rooting for Jackie every time.
Jackie,
Even when
we
I
finished-
vote for
we
Elliot, I'm
finished
like,
the
I
last-
hope Jackie wins.
We finished the last workout. Jackie goes, Meg, I won. And she goes, woo! And then like the other
That
times,
was
I'll be like,
Meg,
I'll
not
be like,
me.
Meg, I won. And she'll be like, well, that's because there were toes to bar. It's like, or maybe, okay.
No,
just
Elliot,
can't
we
win. Hey,
know
hey,
you
it's hard to
win
be on
most
top.
of the workouts. So I have to celebrate the little victory.
I will tell you, like, one of the sweetest things in the world when Elliot and I did the Great Equalizer competition together, and Michael took photos of both of us. Like, he took photos and videos of both of us lifting. The way, like, Elliot's heart skipped a beat. He was like, no one ever takes videos of me working out.
Nobody
ever does
competitions. I'm videoing everybody, and like I'm doing my thing, and no one ever takes any
that.
pictures.
Like, and
or
they weren't
social
even
media.
like that great. Like, they were grainy from far away or
But
whatever.
I'm
But,
in it.
like, sending him, like, we got his max lift. Like Michael took a video of him doing his max lift, and he was like, "Oh my god, you got a video of that!" Like, couldn't believe it. I was like, my heart was so warmed. I was like, poor Elliot.
That
I
is
do
so
work.
sweet.
I do work very hard to make it so people don't think I'm an actual human, but I actually am sometimes.
No, Elliot, you work very hard. You have a very high level of fitness, and we're all just trying to be at your level.
Just so blown away. The phone, taking out the phone and snapping a few pictures. No, I don't even. It's all right. It's whatever.
Do you want me to start
No,
recording
no,
videos
no.
of
So
you working
soft the
out
moment that-
next to
No,
your
no.
camera of you videoing you working out?
No,
That's it, he's
you'll
got
probably
it
do it
himself.
wrong. You'll probably
I
take
will
the video
definitely
like
do
this.
it wrong. You see me. I set it up. It's like on the floor. It's like every time the barbell drops, the thing's shaking around. Got babies crying in the background.
Well, this was a great convo. I think we should close out. Any final words you want to say? If there's one thing people should do as the year closes out, what should that be?
Get back on the horse. I think that's the whole. Like we gave
Start
a lot of tips
today.
and how to
Whatever
do
it
it and
is you're
things.
trying to do.
But it's like I think the gold nugget in this whole thing is, and that's where you should cut it when you do it on the Instagram, right? When I say that and then cut it. The gold nugget is just getting back on the horse as soon as possible. Don't wait till next week. Don't wait till the New Year's. Like, oh, I messed up today. I had 17 gingerbread cookies, but tomorrow it's chicken and rice.
Yeah, or even if you
Or-
have the plate of cheese and crackers, still make yourself a small portion. Even if you're like so freaking full, make yourself a small portion of the veggies and some turkey, and like still have dinner, so you're not waking up the next morning totally erratic.
And then get back on the horse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just get back to it instantly.
Yeah, I would say come up with a plan. And it doesn't have to be a super detailed plan. If you have a goal in mind, come up with one very specific thing that supports that goal.
All right, we gotta
Love it.
Start the thing.
Thank you for listening, everybody. And Jackie, thank you so much for joining us on our podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much
I
for
think
having
it's safe
me.
to say we will welcome you back anytime.
Potentially, yeah.
So.
Just fill out the
I'll let you
request
know if
form.
I have time.
Okay.